Hey, Woody, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Jackie?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing well. I am.
You okay? Hey, Ruth.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Ruth. I'm trying to.
Me too. Yeah. Good morning, Leslie. I'm trying to get my screen set up right.
Me too. I'm gonna put you guys.
Oh, there I go.
Yeah, I had a whole new background, but it is not showing up here. So I guess it's on my other system. I don't know why I thought it would be here. It was me in the ocean.
Oh, I'm all for
Not
that.
this morning. I know, not this morning.
Yes, I could use that.
Let's see if I can find it. Hey, Woody.
Good morning, everybody.
Wow, you're like wearing a suit.
Something like that, yeah.
That's
Okay, Sophia, look.
stop it. You're making me
goodness.
feel bad and left out. No, I'm kidding.
There you go. See how
Oh, are you ever dressed? Okay.
I'm like the mullet. I'm like a mullet. I'm business up top. I'm casual down low.
right. I was
It's
gonna
flip
say
flops
I'm
and yeah. I've got on basketball shorts and flip flops. Don't worry.
I love it.
I'm
Yeah.
doing the anchor person, right? Where you just
Mhm.
wear you got the top going. You never get it out from behind the desk.
Right.
Pandemic fashions. I live for it.
Actually, Ruth, that looked very presidential.
Okay.
Having your coat on. It looked very much like group president.
No, it's true. She's right. You do.
But we're not going to demand that today. It looks good, though.
Especially with the mask.
Oh, yes, all of that. Complete sea outfit.
Here, I'll wear this until I start boiling. Very soon.
Well, let's see.
Let's see.
But yeah, I mean, good morning, everyone. And do we just want to maybe just check in really quick and see how we're all doing? It's been a while.
Yeah.
Let me see who all is just checking to make sure we're all here. Hi, Sarah. Participants.
Hi, Ruth. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nice to see you all.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, hey, Neelura, that's a cool background.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just joined.
GPS and Zoom. Oh, okay. That's Isabel.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll rename myself.
Yep, got it. I think it's just okay right now. We're waiting for Jennifer, right? And Rod, right?
And Rod said he might be late.
Okay.
So I think it's just. This way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jennifer and yeah, I think it's just Jennifer.
All right. Let's give it another minute. Anita, you're going to jump off at 10, right? Or a little before 10?
sorry, correct.
I could read your lips.
Ruth, I'm also going to drop off. Anita and I need to coordinate a little bit better, but I think we both are, well, I don't think mine's is at 10. I think I'm gonna drop off for a 2 o'clock for you guys.
Right.
All right, well, I'm gonna speak really quickly and hopefully we will get to everything we need to get to.
Sorry, I'm doing bad East Coast, West Coast timing. It is not gonna, I'm not dropping off at 2 o'clock. I'm dropping off, I think, at 11.
Hopefully we'll be done by then. Okay. All right, so why don't we, well, let's make sure there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have, yeah, we can start. How about, I'll bring this meeting, we'll start now so that we can, try to stay on schedule. The Seed School of Los Angeles County Board of Directors meeting, July 29th, 2020. What time is it? Where's my clock?
9:03.
9:03. We'll call the meeting to order. Let's do a quick roll call. Since there are only a handful of us, you can just say present or I as we call your names. Do you want to do that, Woody? You up for it?
Yeah. Let's see. Isabella Costa,
Present.
Sarah Ali,
Present.
Sophia Echevarria,
Present.
Rod Hamilton, Jackie Kimbrough,
Present.
Jennifer Price Lexter, and Ruth Stolford.
Present. Thank
Awesome.
you. And we'll just acknowledge that this meeting is being recorded. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes. So has everyone taken a look at the minutes? And and had a chance to review, and if there are any corrections or errors, let us, please bring those up now, and then we can move to approve the minutes. I have 2 corrections. I have Sophia's name is spelled incorrectly in the body of the minutes. Am I correct, Sophia? It's ECHA, right? Echa.
Correct.
She, okay. And then I also had that the adjournment time at 10:13, I think it was 11:13.
11:13. Okay.
Okay. Does anyone else have any?
If there are no other corrections, I put a motion to approve the minutes with the 2 corrections.
It's Sarah, that was you, right?
That was Isabel. That
was
Isabel,
Oh, sorry.
but
Isabel.
Woody, I second that motion.
Great. Then the minutes are approved with corrections.
Awesome.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move into the community engagement piece. As you see on the agenda, it says resolution to establish community engagement subcommittee. That's actually a typo. What we're talking about creating is an actual committee. We are going to bring up the actual resolution to establish this committee in our next meeting, officially establish it. But just so you all understand what we're talking about this committee, the purpose of this committee is to build deep, meaningful, trusting relationships between students, staff, families, and the Vermont Manchester community, to establish countywide connections and partnerships to better support the needs of the school and ensure the best outcomes for the community. The committee's goals will be adjusted and revised as the development of the project evolves and based on thoughtful consideration of what best serves the Seed LA community. currently, the members of this committee will be Sarah Ali and Jackie Kimbrough, with support from Woody Scott and Laura Bell. So before this committee is officially established, that does not mean that the work is not happening. So the work will continue or begin, however we're looking at it. And then we will officially establish this committee through a resolution in our next meeting. Yep.
Marie, can I ask a question, please? So I'd actually like to understand the scope, and not in this moment. I certainly can do it in between now and the next meeting.
Yes.
I'd actually like to understand the scope of it before we commit Woody to it. I actually don't know that I think he has bandwidth, and so maybe it's nothing. And sorry to be talking about you, Woody, while you're like sitting there, you know. But I actually would ask that his name be taken off the table for a moment until I get a chance to understand the scope of the work over the next 22 months.
Sounds great. We could do that.
If there's work that needs to happen in the interim, this is Isabel. I'm happy to step in as well and provide any additional support.
Great. Great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Wonderful. So, so we can continue to have these discussions separately and then together, and then, you know, move to an official creation in our next meeting will be October, just so everyone knows. So to that end, then the next piece is to bring us up to date on what the follow-up was out of the community engagement Zoom that we did. Because there was some follow-up that had been discussed, including, you know, FAQs, responding to the questions that didn't get responded to, and just wanted to see where we were with that process.
Yeah, so hopefully everyone was aware we had a good event. It was well attended. I think we had about 160 some odd registrants. The room capacity was set at 100, so we actually had more people registered and wanting to join than were able to participate, which I think is a good showing of the enthusiasm and excitement around the school and just the community's actual excitement to see what's going on. I want to say we had a couple follow-up questions come in either through email or through contacts, essentially looking for insight into hiring or some other things about art. We put together a FAQ. Also, we've finally stood up the social media, so I'll be able to get those out this week to everyone to follow up. But for the most part, and Laura has also, I think, got some feedback from her end. It seems like it was well received. Again, it was well attended. I think the event went pretty well. It's actually on our YouTube channel now, and I can share that with everyone at the conclusion of this call as well. So it's out in the world. It's being viewed. It's being shared, and we'll plan for the next one. I believe, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they were talking the November timeframe.
Yeah, we didn't pick a date. We're waiting on the mixed use developer to bat next. Unless we want to do something on our own, but it's really their turn next to do the lead, and we would have a supporting role or appearance, if you will.
Laura, and Ruth, one of the follow-up items that I think I committed us to was to lay out at some point the various employment opportunities. And so I think Woody and I are close. Well, we're not as close as we want to be, but I think in the next month, we're going to have a pretty comprehensive project plan that sort of looks at all the various elements of the project and be able to sort of walk through what hiring looks like. So I don't know if we want to wait until November, but I think maybe by the end of August, I could probably say to you pretty clearly, like, here's a date when we could actually share the timeline in terms of potential hiring, and all of that is obviously pending, you know, starting construction. But I think we can do it in terms of when it should occur, you know, between school opening and today, right? And so I think by the end of August, we can say on this date, we can do this. And so you can decide when and if we want to wait till November, or if we want to gather a special brown bag to have that conversation.
Okay. Right.
Laura, I think that's good. I think we also need to add to that though, because I think what's of interest in the moment is the construction opportunities. And I am trying to zero in on that with Bernard's construction. So we may want to do something like if you're ready at the end of August, the contractor should certainly be more than ready because they're supposed to be starting soon. So we might want to add that information as well.
And specifically, Neelora's trying, there is something in the community, the Black Workers Center that came up in the community. The woman spoke in the community meeting. So we're just making sure that Bernard's is connected to the organizations that are on the ground, or the right organizations, I should say, because they have other ones they're working with.
Ruth, Laura, and Woody and I can put our heads together and update the board in August on what we think. Laura and Woody, I'm sorry, I am speaking for you, but I think we can put our heads together and update the board in August in terms of what we think, are good next steps, and then what the steps are that we need to actually execute against before we gather people.
Okay.
And just the comment that Anita just made, right? Like who is it that we want to talk to, and who is it we want to get the information in front of before we have a community gathering?
Mm-hmm.
So that when someone asks a question, have you talked to these entities, we can say yes.
Yep. Yes, and then Leslie, we'll talk about Woody and then sort of our thoughts about the committee and how all of that, this community engagement committee sort of threads into what we just talked about, which we can do after this meeting. Are there any other questions about community engagement, about the follow-up?
I do think I do think that it will be helpful to understand like what we think all the community engagement work is between now and September 22, and then what, and then who is doing what, right? I think there's some expectations that the county has of the Seed Foundation in XED as a startup team, right? And as holders of the initial contract and agreement. And then it sounds like that there are expectations that we are developing as a school and a school board. And I think it would just be helpful, Woody, in the project plan to get some clarity around like what is the scope of work and then who is responsible, so that we're not sending mixed messages, and so that at no point does the county so that the county is always clear on who is doing what and how we're executing against their expectations. Laura, did I cut you off? I apologize.
No. I can do it under construction. Is the construction update? I can talk about it under construction update. It's sort of under there more, I think.
Okay, before I move on, I just want to make sure everybody's had their say. If there are any questions on this topic. All right. Well, then
But I'm sorry, Ruth, I did want to say, just because it kind of came under community engagement, which is some direct feedback that Lacey did give me. And this might come in our more full discussion on this, but she did say she thought we needed to have a plan and tell the community how we were going to, not only in an advisory capacity, engage them, but they thought that the board, if we had intentions of expanding the board and having some more community representation on the board, she felt really strong about that. And so she thought that she's looking for some feedback from us on that, because she knows we're talking about our community engagement efforts, but she thought that was really important for us to address in some way.
I think Jackie agrees. We've discussed this, Sarah. I think that is also part of, Nalora, what we were talking about with this committee, is that out of this work, it will also help us all identify who some of those, so the intention is one thing, and explaining that we do have the intention to expand the board. That's one piece of it, and how we do that. We need to explain that, and we should probably incorporate that as part of the plan. And that hopefully through some of the, the process of this community engagement and input from stakeholders, that we will be able to identify some of those people that would make, that would be great additions to the team, either as board members, advisory committees, those kinds of things. So I think we're, it sounds like the timing's right for all of this.
Okay.
I'm curious, in any of the pre-development phases, when engaging the community, if there was ever a youth advisory council that was part of the development?
No.
Not that I'm aware of, no. And Sarah, just to be clear, when you say youth, you mean like potential students?
I think it could range from potential students that we might serve at the school, or students who would have liked to have a seed opportunity but did not have one. So I think the committee should, in our next steps and part of the plan and outline of 22 months forward, think about the role of young people in an advisory capacity.
That could help. I could get you, when Metro began this process a while ago in their RFP, they did a lot, they hired a woman who did a lot of focus groups with youth. And we could get you some of that material or track it down. It was, she did an awful lot. It was more around, I don't know, more career technology education kind of stuff.
That information would be great. Thanks, Anita.
Sure.
I do want to echo Sarah's concerns and her points around a youth advisory or some sort of components of youth being included in the process. I think that would be extremely helpful.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. All right. Shall we move on? One last call for questions, input. It's great. This is great. So we're going to move into the funding update because, yeah, let's move into it. I think we have, right, yep, okay. So take it away, team.
Anita, do you want to start?
Yeah, why don't I start? Let's start on the front part. What I kind of want to tell you guys, so the New Markets Tax Credit, it's a complicated kind of thing. XED received a $50 million allocation a year ago. But now there are new allocations out, and so we are actually applying for others. When I say 58 million, and what it requires, this is just FYI, is even though an allocation, you have to get partners, investors to buy the credits and lenders to make the loans. So I'm working with US Bank, but I'm also working with what are called community development finance institutions to provide the lending piece of this. So it's complicated. I think it's still okay to say 58 million. That is kind of a net, just so you know, we'll probably have something like 61 million. And I'm saying but it's really Nalora has been doing the heavy lifting on the spreadsheets that are going to different partners or potential partners. One place that, just to know, in Los Angeles, there is something called the Los Angeles Development Fund, which itself gets allocations of New Markets tax credits. And with NELURA's, NELURA applied, we applied for 10 million from them. So we have 50 million, but we need at least another 10 million to make this 58. And I say all this, this is much easier than the philanthropy. So this is doable. It's just making it happen. And in order to do that, we had, in order to apply to the LA Development Fund, we had to get a support letter from the councilman, Marquise Harris Dawson. And NELURA, anything else you want to say about any of that?
No, I don't know, because the New Markets has actually, remember, it's gone up a little bit. I mean, I know it's convoluted, but it's gone up, and we're going to try to get 70 so we can lessen the fundraising burden, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it doesn't really lessen it. Yeah, we're reworking this. It gets complicated. So, yeah, I don't think it in the end lessened it the way we were looking at it. But we
Down
are
to 21 from 30. That's a little less, right?
Yeah.
but that assumed some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So but we need to rework it. We are trying in this marketplace. The only other aspect of that, even though, yeah, we are looking at trying to even go for more tax credits so that we don't have to raise as much. But one issue that's out there is, just to give you a sense, that when a US Bank was going to buy the tax credits at 83 cents a tax credit per tax credit dollar. And because corporations are not paying as much taxes, a key problem in the US structure, they are now dropping their pricing. So we get less, but we're just working all of these issues together, putting it together. We are still actively trying to raise. I'm trying to think what additional, the Reardon Foundation came in at 250,000 and Meyer.
And Keck.
And Keck.
So $1 million since our last meeting.
Well,
Do you want me to
that's
keep going?
nice.
That's big,
Yay!
right?
That's a lot of money.
That is good.
We've just submitted, we're submitting to the Carrie Saldoni Foundation. So if anybody knows or has a connection there, it'd be great to have a meeting with them. Schwab, Anita is taking care of submitting to Schwab. They invited us to apply for $400,000 over 2 years. And the Dodgers Foundation, we had a great meeting with Nicole Whiteman. And she's going to, recommend it to the ownership. So we might not be going through the Dodgers Foundation. Is Rod on the call? No.
He said he might join late. I don't think he's on yet.
Okay.
Rebecca, I think that one thing I would just say about the Dodgers Foundation, I think we are going to submit, but I think they made it pretty clear that their interest is really kind of direct service work, and it could be direct service with our students, direct service with our adults. But I think the other question that I have is if people could take a look at the members of, is it the Guggenheim Group? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay. Like if people could take a look at the names of the individuals in that group and see if they have any, 1 degree, 2 degrees removed contacts with that particular group. It's not clear to me who she meant when she said the owners or but I suspect it's somebody in that group. And so I think it'd be helpful for folks to look at that group. And either we can send it to you but it's pretty easy to kind of, Google and see them, see who that includes.
Yeah, and I'd also take a look at the Dodgers Foundation board members as well. We do have a pending proposal there for $1 million, but both are helpful. And then on that note, everybody has their prospect lists from our development meeting a few weeks ago. If you can continue sending me your updates so I can coordinate everybody and air traffic control our fundraising effort, that would be great. And If you want to schedule time with me, I'm happy and available. And then coming up in August, mid-August, we're looking at hosting a funding briefing. And this would be wide for all partners. Anyone who is maybe new or, needs to learn seed LA, we're going to give an update. We're holding tentatively the date of August 12th at 2 p.m. And we're just waiting to hear if Mark Ridley Thomas or Phil Washington are going to be able to join us before we distribute the invitation. So you'll be getting that from me today or tomorrow, hopefully by the end of the week.
Great. Thank you. And I also overnight, Sarah Ali brought in $5,000 with the matching fund. So that's fantastic. Do you want to just mention that, Sarah?
Sure, Ruth, I can add some color to that. I've been in contact with some folks at Goldman Sachs, and they were initially hoping to see through their corporate social responsibility through their racial equity funding, as well as there's another vehicle called Goldman Sachs Gives. Unfortunately for us, most of those funds are already spoken for through multi-year commitments, but it's definitely on their radar. So they're in the near term wanting to do two things. The fellow I've been in connection with is making a personal pledge that will be matched by Goldman. So he was very sweet and he said, it's not the amount you were looking for, but it's what I'd like to contribute. So he's pledged 5 that'll be matched for a total of 10. But then he also, similar to what Leslie just described, talked about how through one of their volunteer initiatives, they're interested in, as we develop and have more opportunities for volunteers, engage that element of Goldman LA to engage, but also his words were to raise the visibility of what we're doing. So that's a possibility. And then part 2 of that update is the client manager from JIB Fund reached out to me last night over email, just asking for some updates. And folks can remember that one of the JIB Fund members was the host of our last in-person funding event. So fingers crossed.
It's awesome. And I just sent you some materials.
Great, thank you, Becca. And I don't know if it makes sense to talk about it on this call or in a separate update, but I'm curious if there was any traction with LA 84.
I haven't had any
No,
new follow-up there. Go ahead, Anita.
But I have sent Renata twice information, like our follow-up.
When the charter was approved, we sent an update.
Yeah, FAQ and everything else.
Okay, I will coordinate with Jen Lesher about the person we both know and determine which one of us will follow up with her.
Perfect.
Thank you. That's
No
great.
problem.
Sarah, that would be great, because I also think that Nicole that's her first name, right? From the Dodgers Foundation, Rebecca?
Yes.
Yeah, she said she's very close with Renata. And so I just want to make sure that we're creating a lot of goodwill there, because I think it's a small funding community. And I suspect that Nicole will reach out before she advances, an ask for seed. Reach out to Renata before she advances an ask for seed.
That makes sense. And I agree. It is a pretty small community and folks like to give one another updates on what they're funding or what they're looking at. So I think that's smart to be looking at those points of connection.
So as it stands, as of this morning, how much do we need to raise?
I think we're at like $14 million.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will just say, just so that, certainly I think everyone is really working hard. But just, I want to say, like, we really are like spending most waking moments thinking about this, and a lot of sleepless moments thinking about this. And a lot of weekends, as I look at Rebecca to my right here on the screen. So Ruth, I do appreciate like the focus on community engagement, because I don't actually want anyone to think that like we are not deeply committed to the community engagement. I think that just like we realized that if we didn't get the charter, right, like nothing, like that was a milestone we had to hit. And so at some point we were exclusively focused on that. I think likewise, both, the XED team and the Seed Foundation team is probably spending, an appropriate amount of time only thinking about this. And so it might feel like it's at the sacrifice of other elements of the work, but it really is, because we know that if we don't get this raised, if we don't figure this out, that other pieces of the program won't advance. And so, not that anyone needs us to defend ourselves. I just think that I wanted to say that out loud, that it really is our priority, and we are prioritizing it at the expense of other pieces. And so I just apologize if it appears that we're not committed to some other areas, but we just feel like this is the piece we've got to, scale, the mountain we have to scale in this moment. As I see.
Leslie, I think that's great that you're highlighting this, and I would agree from, my thoughts from a community engagement perspective are thinking along lines exactly the parallel you drew to our charter. Like, we have a high priority to meet our funding goal. And so I think about across 22 months, what does a phased approach of community engagement look like, knowing that we can't do the meaningful, deep engagement if we don't have a school to walk into.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think Woody will be following up. Like it is actually why I feel like it sounds like I'm protecting all of his time, but I'm really protecting his time, because I think we have to get a comprehensive project plan in front of all of us, so that like the 175,000 things that we need to get accomplished over the next 22 months. Actually, for Woody, I was like referencing this in terms of numbers of days, right? Like, so we're like 700 and like 60 or so days from school opening. And that's just not a whole lot of time. And so I think over the next month or so, we will get something in front of everyone after we have some one-on-one and individual meetings with both folks on this phone, but also other stakeholders, so that we can get a project plan in front of everyone and we can all be clear and be on the same page as to what needs to get accomplished.
Thank you. And I know you made this very clear, and we really appreciate it. I just want to board members, let's, really dig in as deep as we can with all of our contacts, and let's get to this 14 million, however we can. And, don't leave no stone unturned, put it that way. And if you have an idea, run it past me, run it past Becca, and we can do the vetting, and then we can roll it up so that we don't keep adding to people's plates, but that we can help move this process along. So, because I know there's some organizations that we haven't thought of because of COVID. Things have changed with funding priorities, some for the better for us. So let's just make sure we keep this urgency and support everyone as best as we can, so that we do have a school. So thank you, everybody. So are there any other questions related to the capital fundraising? Before I'm just going to quickly mention this other item, development and board.
Ruth,
yeah.
I'm just curious to clarify with Becca, can you confirm who you directed the Doheny application to?
Just online, not to a program officer. It's open, unsolicited.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any other questions? So I think this development and board item right here is related to what we already discussed that Nalora mentioned and that we mentioned in terms of, you know, keeping, unless there's something I'm not thinking of. But I think that's what it was related to, and that, you know, that we're going to develop the board, diversify the board, possibly, you know, expand to some advisory committees. Was there something else that this bullet point was connected to?
Okay. Did you have something to add?
I think it was about going over everyone's individual follow-up, but I touched on that briefly on a high level.
Oh, okay.
Just give me your updates.
Okay, so it's not at
Yeah.
all what I just said.
Yeah.
All related to what I was
But it sounded great.
Okay, got it. Okay, so this is the develop. So exactly what we all just talked about. Let's dig deep, everybody. Okay, so then we can move on to the construction update.
So we are still working diligently trying to get everything wrapped up with DWP and get our money from LACDA so that we can start the utility work mid-August. And along with that, I don't think we mentioned it because we hadn't talked about it at our last board meeting, but the supervisor's office and Metro want to do a soft kind of groundbreaking event around this. And so we're having to do a little dance here to try to make sure that some workers are actually on site on a particular day, that the supervisor and Phil Washington can be out on the site more for photo ops rather than a full-blown press conference. But we are using our communications team to do a draft press release for the supervisor's office and Metro to then take a look at. And then Leslie, I think at one time you said you might be interested in coming out on the 5th, and so that would be good. But I don't know now that it's changed and it's softer than it was going to be if you still want to do that. But we'll keep you updated, and you can, you know, make up your mind as we get closer to solidifying what we're going to do out there. And I think it'll be more like on the 19th now, just given everything that's going on and everybody we have to queue up to get out there and make sure we have a good showing of workers out there when we're on site. And so in that regard, Metro has taken the lead, and I think the supervisor's office is going to pay for. They're going to have like some construction signs out there that are going to detail both of the projects. So they're going to install them, and they're going to install some raised signs. At first they were thinking of on the fence, but we thought those would be susceptible to, you know, vandalism and tagging and that kind of thing. So they're having to figure out a way to raise them up in the air. So again, we're trying to get underway with the utility work mid-August at this point.
Nelora, the 19th sounds better because LA just went on DC's
Mandatory 2-week.
yeah,
quarantine.
mandatory, right? So if I go to LA, then I'm going to be required to quarantine when I
I
get
got
back.
you. Okay. I missed that news, but okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. That's as good a reason as any.
Yeah. So maybe the 19th things will look really different, but just for now.
Okay.
LA
Okay. We
LA
usually have a catch-up call on Thursday, so I will convey that message to them.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
It's
one
okay.
of-
No. I think it's fine. I don't know. I think that I don't know if the supervisors still go on vacation. They used to take the last 2 weeks of August off for vacation, but we'll see what they say.
All right.
Can I just add a question we constantly get on the construction update is, do we need all of the money in hand to be able to start construction? And for the most part, the answer is yes, but we're trying to figure out if there are ways that certain, if people pledge money over time, over the construction period, whether that'll be okay. And we're looking at PRIs that could bridge it. So, we're rejiggering it around a lot, trying to rethink what we absolutely need and stuff. So it's not an easy answer, but for the most part, we need all of it. And we can't, the likelihood is we will have a construction permit because the drawings are going in and getting reviewed. And I think 85% drawings have been already submitted, that we're likely to have a construction permit in mid-September, maybe, Laura? I'm looking.
We could.
Yeah. But just not have the financing, so, or all the money in place. So the money in place is what's driving the date of going into construction. But simultaneously, Bernard's construction is going out for bids to make sure that, to get a price.
Do permits expire?
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
takes
no.
about a year or so.
It's like, yeah.
It's about at
I
least
mean,
a year.
obviously, if you change something materially, I get that, but okay.
An example of something that I'm, would love to explore, don't have an answer, is that as part of our 14 million gap, 4.5 million of that is funding a parking structure. And we're not going to need parking structure for a while. If there was a way that we could fund or finance that later, and really all that money is doing is going into an escrow account for when Bridge, the other developer, builds the parking lot. So if we could hold off on that, for example, that's something I'm looking at. Or get it financed in a different way through the county or through, some other way. Jack, maybe I'll ask Jackie. I hadn't thought about this, but do you know Will Marshall by any chance, Jackie?
No, I don't.
Okay, he's with the Economic Development Association. He's just been with the city for so long that
Thought I knew him because I'd been around so long. Okay, but I don't.
that was it. We're having trouble, Neeler and I, getting through to him about the importance of this. So just checking in.
Will Marshall.
With
Yeah.
EDA, Economic Development Administration.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions about construction? Anything else to add? All right, let's move on to the petition update.
Okay, hopefully everyone is aware that LACO approved our charter petition on July 7th in a 6-1 vote. So it's as Leslie mentioned earlier, a major milestone for this group and for the progress of marching towards opening in August 2022. There are a couple follow-up items, I think, coming out of that, mostly administrative in nature. I believe there was one, I think it was board member Thomas Sainz, probably Sainz. Had recommended one amendment, and I think Anita had also caught one with I think they had the wrong date, so there's some changes that they have to make. They're also going to send over an MOU, I believe they said by the end of the month, so sometime, I would assume by the end of the week, that we'd have to execute. And I believe correctly, Leslie, you might have more context on this, that we might have to bring the management agreement back before the board now that we've officially been authorized. But apart from that, there's really not too much going on with the petition. We are good to go, I think, in that regard.
Yeah, so Woody, I'm going to separate those two things. You just, I don't want to conflate them.
Mhm.
So the signing of the management agreement, again, is just a process. It has nothing to do with like the next steps for the petition. So let's move that aside for a second. I would just be mindful, like, that I don't think anything is, I think things have been good, but I want to we should probably be mindful, like getting signatures on this MOU is an important step, particularly because there was that last minute amendment. And so the question is like, if the language that they suggest is like a non-issue, then we're fine, right? And I think that's David Downing's hope and expectation, that it will be so vague that it won't make a difference. But I think getting the MOU signed is important, right? Like it's a major piece of this negotiation. And so, I just, in my being cautiously optimistic, I don't want us to think that this is just not a major step. And that we'll need to make sure that we're negotiating as clearly as ever, just to get it signed and over whatever you get over the threshold.
And only thing I'd add is I did talk to David Downing, and he seemed to indicate, because I asked him about the amendment, he seemed to, that Tom Sines brought up, he said that they've taken care of it, that it was really it was about just a legal thing and what their own liability of LACO. We'll see if that shows up again and how it manifests in any MOU, but he was not concerned about it. And the only other thing, it turns out on the date that I guess what happens next is that in order to access funding and everything else, you have to get a charter number from the state. So that's some paperwork we're filling out. But in that process, when we looked back at the minutes of the board meeting, noticed that the charter term is July 2021, not the opening of the school, but through July 2026 or June 2026. So technically, just typically in California, all charters, the first term is 5 years. So this is a 5-year charter. It's just that we'll have 4 years of academic data to look back on. So the first year, what they're calling is a planning year, which is unlike, I will say, other districts like LAUSD. That's not the way they function, but it's not worth arguing. But so that's just an awareness that it's a 5-year term, but it starts for 1 year while it's in construction, and there's not much to analyze.
Yeah, I actually will say that it's exactly how it happened in Miami, though. Like, because they were so rigid about like their terms, right? That fine, you can have a planning year, but we will not start the charter after your planning year. And I think we'll just need to be mindful as it relates to the outcomes.
Correct. Yeah, I think.
And then just one other thing to add about the charter is something that we need to clarify. It's just a simple thing, is when we actually really do have to comply with the Brown Act. I mean, we're assuming we are, right, currently, but maybe we can just get some clarity on, whether or not, when the actual clock starts ticking.
Correct.
So,
we will try to get that clarity quickly.
All right, any other questions about the petition? Great, thank you for all the information and all the work so much. Okay, so then we're—
Excuse me, just a heads up. Jennifer is trying to dial in, says she's having Wi-Fi connection issues, so she's not able to join, but she's trying to get back in.
Okay. Okay, so then the next item we have on here is under governance is our resolution to hold quarterly meetings. So we're resolving to hold quarterly meetings. The idea being that I don't know that we actually have to make it an official resolution. Obviously, when things come up, there are mechanisms for us to get in contact with everyone, and we can absolutely schedule interim board meetings in compliance with the Brown Act that will include, you know, the 72-hour notice and all of that stuff. So that doesn't preclude our ability to schedule additional meetings when they're necessary. But in terms of just overall planning and giving us time in between meetings to actually, you know, prepare everything that we need to prepare, and also, you know, get understanding of the Brown Act and all of those other things, we're going to move to quarterly meetings. And if anyone has any questions about that, you can, you know, let us know, or any issues or thoughts, because I mean, it doesn't preclude us from scheduling additional meetings. It's just something we can all sort of look towards.
And just as a heads up, we have it as Q2 in October, Q3 in February, and then the final meeting of the year in May.
Woody, do you mind saying that one more time?
Yeah, Q2 will be in October, Q3 will be in February, and then the final meeting of the year will be in May.
Thank you.
I just think that, I think that's fine, given what Ruth said, that we can call meetings as we need to, but if we're going to be trying to close financing towards the end of the year, we're probably going to have some other meetings, because the board has to authorize us to take on such encumbrances. So we probably will need to add some, but yeah.
Yep. At least we'll get these on the calendar, and then we will, you know, add the meetings as needed.
Okay.
Ruth, is this assuming Thursday is still the primary day, or is it Wednesday, or?
I think we're going to move it to Wednesdays, unless that's an issue for everybody.
And that's the third Wednesday we're looking at?
Woody, do you have the date in front of you that we put on? I think it's on it. We put it on.
It was October 15th, February 18th, and May 13th, but I think those were Thursdays.
Okay, we're going to move them back one day. So to the 14th, so October 14th.
October 14th, February 17th, and May 12th.
So just move it back to the Wednesdays.
Okay.
But we will send out calendar invites. We can do that quickly, and then you can just plop it onto your calendars.
Do you need a motion, Ruth, for the change, or are we good?
Why don't we just do one? Let's just do one, just to be safe.
So I put a motion forward to approve quarterly meetings moving forward for the 2020-21 school year.
A second? All those in favor say aye. We'll do a official vote.
Aye.
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 What do we have on here? Oh, wow. Do we even have a quorum? Let's see. Did we lose?
Yes, I think Sophia said she had to step off for a quick second. And then obviously Jackie hasn't joined. I mean, not Jackie, sorry. Jennifer has not joined yet, and Rod has not joined yet. So we have quorum, with still the 4.
Okay, we're good. So we have 4 yeses, correct? The vote is okay. The motion stands to move our quarterly meetings, to move to quarterly meetings for 2020 to 2021.
And the only thing I just want to check, it is not a material thing, but we should just check whatever was put into the charter, that the governing board, how often it would meet. So I don't even know the answer. I don't know if it was quarterly or monthly, and whatever it is, it's not material. but you should at least know what it is.
Yeah.
We
So
can-
actually, can you do two things, Woody? Because I'm sorry, I had myself on mute while you guys were trying to vote. I was trying to ask a question. I was like, they can't hear me. Please check the bylaws.
Mhm.
And just,
Yeah.
that's not a problem. If we need to adjust the bylaws, but just make sure that we're in compliance with the bylaws.
Certainly.
I think we did check the bylaws, but let's double check them and then let's make sure we check the charter too.
Okay.
And with the charter, you can go back to being whatever it says at a different time.
Right, yeah, no, I know. We can fix it. if it
It's
needs-
just to know. All right, I'm gonna have to head off, but I will. It sounds like we're at the end anyways.
Yeah.
Talk to you
Are.
all soon. All right, take care, you guys. Take care.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Anita.
Anita.
Sure.
Thanks, Anita. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we now, we're finishing early, which is great. However, we definitely have time to discuss anything we need to discuss. So if there are questions, thoughts, anything we want to share, we have some time. So please chime in.
Becca, can you remind me, was Tiffany Haddish and the She Ready Foundation on the prospect list? And was there any outreach to date?
That is open. She's not on the prospect list.
Okay. Can we add that for our next check-in?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think another question in light of Sarah's question is that I am trying to figure out how to connect with Denzel Washington. So if anyone, if you,
I wish I knew, Leslie.
Yeah.
let me explain why. So he actually went to boarding school. And I think for a number of reasons, like if we could actually get him, to be a face of SEED, to do something for SEED. And so just trying to figure out like how, he's got a new agent. Actually, his prior agent about 2 years ago died. And so I can't figure out how to get to the new person. And so, if you think through, your Rolodex or folks who know folks, that would be a helpful ask.
Do you know which agency? I can look it up really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, because he just changed. He changed in the last 2 years, and so.
Well, I have a
Yes.
can ask when we get off this call. And he may have a production company, and that can also be a very good way to bypass some of the.
Yeah.
So I'll ask that. The other, and so sort of in the same vein, I'm reaching out to Russell Westbrook, basketball player. He's very involved with education, and especially connected to libraries, building libraries. So and I think it's his father who runs his organization. So I'm trying to get to that. So I'll let you guys know where that goes.
And just to reiterate to everyone, to put August 12th, to hold that time on your calendars at 2 p.m. for our donor briefing.
Yeah, and by the way, Rebecca, I don't think we should wait to confirm with the supervisor or Phil Washington. Like, I think we should just go ahead and figure out how to send out the invite update, and if they confirm, then great. But I think people want to know. I think if we already have the date, we need to get it in front of people as soon as possible, so that they don't have an experience of frustration that we waited too late. So that's just my 2 cents. I think Anita agrees with me, even though she's not on the phone.
Sure. Yeah.
And just to reiterate that this idea that we were hosting a Zoom call similar to our Parsons Breakfast, where we're inviting current funders, potential funders, people interested in funding to a Zoom meeting where we're going to update everybody on the progress and just sort of create some excitement now that we have the charter. We're going to use that time to also introduce some of the board members that can be on the call, that kind of thing. Right?
Yes.
Well, great. So maybe, Woody, you can let Rod and Jennifer know that we will send them the minutes when they're ready to update them, and we can reach out to them if they need some direct updates. Are there any additional questions? Anything we want to add, talk about?
Not for me.
Thank you. All right, so I just want to thank everyone for participating, for working so hard, for thinking about this, for making this a priority. And I know everyone's doing everything they can behind the scenes, and we're going to get there. And you know where to. We all know where to find each other, and we'll be seeing each other soon, one way or another. So please stay healthy and well, and thank you all for all the work.
Thanks for the great news and the work going into the Meyer, Keck, and Reardon commitments. That's really exciting.
Yay. Team effort.
All right, well, thank you. So I think we can officially adjourn this meeting at 10:03.
That's
Amazing.
worthy of thanks.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye. Have a good day.
Thank you all. Take care. Good to see you.
Liz, I have a quick question before you sign off. Are
Yeah.
you there?
I'm here.
Okay,
Well-
and Woody too.
Okay.
I was looking at my calendar and somehow, okay, this is July, August, September, next meeting is October, right? But after October, is the next meeting in January or February? October, November, December, and then the next month would be January. November, December, January. No, October, November, December, January.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Never mind. Just a quick question about dates, about months.
Okay.
Right, keeping it quarterly versus, right? Is that what you mean?
Right.
All right, hold on.
So quarter one ends September 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Quarter two ends December 30th. Quarter three ends March 31st. And quarter four ends June 30th. So we have a meeting in every quarter.
Okay, but not necessarily 3 months apart.
Yeah, no.
Okay, great. That's fine. Thanks.
Did I get it right, Woody?
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
thanks for the clarity. Mhm.
Yes, thank you. All right.